Hello YouTube, Voan here today, and finally my RetroN 5 has arrived. So this is the RetroN 5 console, the most hyped console that people talk in the last few years. So with this console right here, you'll be able to play NES games, Game Boy games, Game Boy Advance games, Super Nintendo games, Sega Genesis games, and Super Famicom games. Also Master System games if you have a converter, and Mega Drive games too, as well as Famicom games, which I don't have. So the RetroN 5 is it's like the successor to the RetroN 3. Instead of using a system on a chip, it uses emulator to emulate all the games. According to the HyperCam, they are going for a complete 100% compatibility rates. I don't think they'll ever, like, the system ever gonna reach that, but they do try their best to make it as compatible as they can. This system right here could be updated, and it has a whole ton of options, filters, save states. You can even take screenshots and do all kinds of stuff with it. So, but it's only compatible with original cartridge. You can't use ROMs on it, even though it runs on emulators. So that's one thing to say. So yeah, stick around, and I'll be doing an unboxing of the consoles and also a few testing of some of the games that I have here. So yeah, there it is. So right here, right there, so you can see that's the RetroN 5. So this is actually the black, the black version. So we're gonna unbox this, and sooner or later we're gonna do some testing, and I'll give you my final opinions on it. So let's see what's inside the box. So now this has already been opened before, so I pretty much just gonna reopen it again, just like my Super Retro Trio review. So it comes covered with this cloth here, so take it out, and there it is. There's the system. So yeah, if you look closely, that's the system right there. So this thing right here is the console. So as you can tell, that's the RetroN 5. And oh yeah, we got 4 slots this time. So yeah, this slot, first slot here is for the Famicom, second slot the NES, third slot Super NES, and last slot Sega Genesis. So yeah, unlike the Super Retro Trio, we got 4 slots. No wait, 5 slot. Yeah, we got the Game Boy slot right here too. So it's for GBA, and you can tell you got 5 different supported system here. So GBA, Famicom, NES, Super NES, and Sega Genesis. So it also supports Super Famicom and Mega Drive as well, but yeah, it uses the same slot as Super NES and Sega Genesis. So yeah. Oh yeah, and on the side here, on the left side, you got your 3 controller ports. So unlike the Super Retro Trio, where all these controller ports were all in front, they're on the side. So the first controller ports for the Sega Genesis, middle ports for NES, and the third port is for Super NES. On the front here you have your power button, so power on and off like before, GBA slot. Okay, right side you got Super Nintendo controller ports, NES still in the middle, and Sega Genesis right on the right. On the back side you actually have an SD card slot, so this is where you put your SD card if you want to update the system. You got an HDMI ports, and you got mini USB ports for charging your controllers, and an AC adapters for your AC power. So yeah, it has one label down here with all the model numbers and all that stuff for the RetroN 5. So yeah, on the back, on the very back of the console, you actually have a docking area for your controller. So yeah, it's a really nice, shiny, cool looking design. So yeah, it's kind of a little bit bigger than the Super Retro Trio, but I like that it has 4 of these controller slots now. I don't have any Famicom games, so I probably won't be able to test any Famicom, the Famicom slot here, but sooner or later I might get some. But the other slot should work okay. Same thing for the Game Boy slot here. So let's put that back in the box. Let's take a look at the controllers. So right here is the Hyperkin's RetroN 5 controllers. So yeah, you can tell my button is missing a symbol here. This is supposed to be the minus button. There's a plus and minus, so somebody forgot to print the minus in this controller. Well, that's okay, I know what it is. But yeah, so for this controller you have 6 buttons on the face, just like a regular Sega Genesis controller. So if you're playing Sega games, this will be your A, B, C, X, Y, Z. But if you're playing Super Nintendo, you can assign the Y, X, B, and A to this diamond layoff this, and L and R up here to the 2 shorter buttons. Or you can do it this way too. You can just map it and have Y, X, B, and A down here on this other diamond layoff, and then have the L and R right here on the face, so you can play some fighting games on it. And then right on the left here you got your very own thumbsticks. So it's actually clicky, just like the Neo Geo Pocket Color thumbstick. So that's good. That feels really nice. The only problem is I don't think a lot of games are meant to be played with this thumbstick though. I think fighting game might be perfect for it, and those 3D shooting or racing games like F-Zero, Virtual Racings, and Star Fox might be able to utilize it very well, but 2D side-scrolling game like Mario, Sonic, and others probably might not be able, probably might not suitable for this kind of stick. But it's really nice though. It feels almost as comfortable as the Neo Geo Pocket sticks. There's your select, your start, that's your home button if you want to return back to the menus. And you also got 2 extra shortcut buttons right here too. So you can use these to either toggle your filters, or print screenshots, or save your save states, or anything. So these are just extra buttons. You can pretty much use them for any of these features in the system. So yeah, it's a nicely well designed controllers, I might say. Yeah, it's not as good as the one that came with the Retro Trio though. I wish it would. I wish it feels more retro and classic, but yeah, the design feels kind of weird, but once you get used to it, it'll be much more comfortable. I do like the thumbsticks, but I'm kind of worried that not having a D-pad might hamper it a little bit. But the layout that they do add to here is actually really comfortable. Just not comfortable pressing these buttons though. They feel really clicky too. Not really. I don't think it feels much more comfy like the old buttons you use on those classic controllers for those other systems. But and the trigger, the shoulder buttons up here, they don't feel as responsive too. So yeah, but it is a really nicely designed controller though. I'm gonna have to get used to it and see how good it is. So that's your mini USB ports right here. You actually have a cable there that plugs into here, so you can charge it while you play if you want. So yeah, that's the controller right there. It's a nicely designed controller. And here's your HDMI cable. So you actually got a really nice HDMI cable here, plugged directly to your HDTVs. And here you got your power adapter. So right here is your mini USB cables for charging your controllers. And then you also got these hookups for those other foreign plugs out there. So these are actually outlet plugs that if you go to other country, you might be able to use them. I probably won't be able to use them because I'm not traveling anywhere. But if you are the kind of person who travels a lot, you might need this if you're planning to take that console elsewhere. But yeah, to me, I don't worry about these. So yeah, so that's basically everything in the box right there. So yep. So Famicom, NES, Super NES, Genesis. So you get 4 consoles and 3 portables. So you get Game Boy Colors, and Game Boy Advance support as well. So now let's test some of them and see how they go. So yeah, let's get on to the testing. kit. So I've been doing a few testing with the RetroN 5 for my HDTVs. The only problem I have with playing the RetroN 5 on the HDTV is because there's just tons and tons of input lags that I just couldn't bear. So yeah, I'll show you a few gameplay of what I mean by those input lags. Okay, so as you can tell, playing on the RetroN 5 on this HDTV here is really quite laggy for me, so I couldn't really bear playing it anymore. That's why I decided to get myself this. So this is it's a HDMI to RCA adapters, a converter. So it'll convert the HDMI signals from the RetroN 5 to RCA, and then I can use the RCA to plug it into that TV over there. And doing that will allow me to play the RetroN 5 on the CRT with accurate gameplays and all the accurate controls. even as accurate as the RetroN 5 could be on the CRT. There is quite a few problems with it. This controller here, my official Super Nintendo controller, you can hear that. You can hear that rattle inside. Yeah. This still works on my Super Retro Trio and still works really well on my original Super Nintendo, but for some reason the RetroN 5 does not like emulate this properly or something, because at the menu I can use the L or the R. I can use the R button here to toggle down the menu, as well as the X button. So mostly the X and the L to toggle up and down between menus, but I can't use all the other buttons to confirm or make choices. Same thing with the D-pad here. So this D-pad does not work, Start Select does not work, and pretty much all the buttons down here except X does not work. So basically the RetroN 5 doesn't seem to emulate this controller very well. However, this controller right here, you can tell, doesn't rattle that much. So for some reason RetroN 5 does emulate this very well. All the button, the A button works as it should, the L and R, the R button doesn't scroll down like on the menu like the other ones. You can actually use the D-pad to go up and down the menu. You can use the A buttons to confirm and B buttons to cancel. So this one works really accurately, and I don't know why the RetroN 5 only recognized this one but not this one. So as you can tell, the rattle one, the non-rattle one, both of these work very well on my Super Nintendo and Super Retro Trio. There's nothing wrong with them, but RetroN 5 seems to have a problem with one of them. So I don't really get that. Also, Sega Genesis lock-on games. Yep, the early versions of the RetroN 5, the starter update version does not allow you to play lock-on games, but I did update it to the latest firmware, so this you can play Sonic 3 and Knuckles and Sonic 2 and Knuckles in there quite accurately now. So all the lock-on now seems to work just fine. So yeah, this definitely works on the RetroN 5 now. So yeah. So that's quite just a bit minor disappointment for me regarding these controllers here, the rattle one, the non-rattle one. So it's just kind of surprised me that the RetroN 5 doesn't accept one, but the others. But yeah, it's the RetroN 5, so it is what it is. Okay, so one thing I like to say is the RetroN 5 is a really great system. It can play all the system's games. So Super Nintendo, Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Mega Drive, Super Famicoms, all of those. However, the problem is not the compatibility this time. The problem is, if I play a game like this game right here, Killer Instinct, for like way too long, or if I plan to play like close to half an hour, the system for some reason, or the emulator, I think, will probably restart. And to me, that really is not a good experience for me, because I don't want any of my games to restart by itself or to hamper me while I was playing. So while I was playing Killer Instinct here, as you could tell, I was playing like up to one of my matches with Jago, and for some reason the emulators just froze and then it restarts, and at the time I did not have an SD card installed to my RetroN 5, so I have to restart this game right here. I have to restart all my matches all over again. So that's one of the problems that hampers the RetroN 5 for me. But when I do get my SD cards, when I do get the SD cards and put it in there, it actually solves that problem. So even though it freezes and restart again, I could use my SD card saves to go back to the part where I left off and then continue it from there. So I actually solved that problem a little bit. It still restarts, but I could actually get back to that moment where before it restarts. So yeah. But then again, even though I managed to find a way to solve that problem, find a way to get through with that problem, the RetroN 5 have found another way to piss me off. So Street Fighter 2 Turbo here is one of the example. So I too was playing close. I was playing with my match with Can, and for some reason, instead of restarting this time, it finally froze and glitched on me. So yeah, the RetroN 5 actually found another way to piss me off. So this time it actually glitches on me, and then I have to I'm not only unable to return to that match, I have to restart the entire game again, including the beginning of the match for this game. So yeah, those problems only occur those problems only occur while I was playing. So it's not at the testing while I was testing it, because the testing went very well. All my games that I test for it, like the Super Retro Trio, all of them works just fine. The only thing is the light gun here does not work. So even though I was able to play the RetroN 5 with this thing, even though I was able to play this using this for the old TV over there, yeah, it was still not a good experience for me. Of course, Genesis games does not have that problem, so I was able to play a Genesis game for very long with no problem. But I'm not sure about Game Boy games and Nintendo games and Super Nintendo games, because these games tend to have problems while I was playing. Usually the problem don't come until later when you are playing like thoroughly. But if you're just testing it for a few minutes, you won't see any problem yet. But all the glitches, all the stuff that hampers the game seems to happen once you finally get through with the games. I still have not found any problem with NES game though. I think it might still be good, but Super Nintendo games, yeah, that still has problem. It's either gonna restart or glitch. So, and that will affect my score here. So, also Super Game Boy, the adapter with the games, the adapter does work, but it doesn't load the game. So you can't actually play any Game Boy games via the Super Game Boy on the RetroN 5. However, it really doesn't, it's really not that big of a deal though, because you can still use the game and play it on the RetroN 5. The other minor things about the Game Boy, however, is that it does not have a link port, so you can't really play any multiplayers or trade Pokemon back and forth like an actual Game Boy, or like the Super Retro Advance adapter, which does have a link port. However, with all of that said, one interesting thing that I do have to say is that the RetroN 5 is able to load GBA games that has a dead battery inside. So this Super Mario Bros. 3 Super Mario Advance 4 cartridges has a dead battery. I don't know if it could change the battery in there or not, But yeah, this one has a dead battery, but I could not load this on an original Game Boy Advance, but I could still load it and play it on the RetroN 5. It was able to, so I can show you that now. Alright, so my final opinions on the RetroN 5. It is a very neat and very cool design consoles, but even with all the compatibility that it has, it still has a few problems that maybe a future update could fix, or maybe Hyperkins could update the systems. But yeah, anyways, let's take a look at all the pros and cons that I found with this system. So RetroN 5, here's all the pros. So you can play NES, Famicom, Sega Genesis, Mega Drive, Super NES, Super Famicom, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games, and Sega's Master System games too, through the power base converter. So that's pro number 1. Pro number 2 is the options to use save states. Awesome graphics filters. It has cheat support, so you can use that if you want cheats. Support SD and SD high capacity cards up to 32 gigs, so that's good. However, those are only for updates. So it has HDMI supports if you wanted to play this on your nice HDTV. It has the ability to update firmware time after time, so if you like to update stuff, this console can do that. With this, you don't actually have to buy another model whenever there's a issue that Hyperkin needs to be aware of. You can just like send the problems to them, and then they'll probably have a future update where they can fix it. It can also take screenshots. It has the ability to use the original controllers. Now, to me, that is great because the Hyperkin RetroN 5 controllers, the wireless Bluetooth one, it's not really much of my taste, but if people get used to it, it's up to them. I don't think I'll get used to it, but I'm glad that they still support the original controllers. There's a lot of controller mapping options, so you could assign any controller ports to any system you want. And it has all the other great emulator settings up there too. So yeah, those are all the pros that I found with the RetroN 5 here. So yeah, all the pros makes this one sounds really interesting. Now, yeah, let's look at the cons, and trust me, there are a lot of cons. So, yep, down here is all the cons. So some controller had issues with the system. So I actually do have a Super Nintendo controllers that doesn't function properly on the RetroN 5. I don't know why that's the only one, but my Super Famicoms and my other Super Nintendo controllers, my fighter pad, all work with the system just fine, except for just one of them, and I'm not really sure why that one doesn't work accurately. There are no AV composite and no S-video support out of the box, so if you want to play this on your old-fashioned TV or your CRT, you will need a converter for that, just like I do. So yeah, booting the system on and off takes time. However, with the latest updates, it actually does reduce that time a little bit, so that's not really a big deal, but it is kind of like a big issue at the beginning. Loading GBA game also takes time. Not all games will be recognized, though the ones I tested all works. Even though repros and bootlegs and all those stuff might not be recognized by the RetroN 5, there are quite a few of them that does work. But yeah, it's kind of a shame that not all of them are recognized. My Super Metroid games with the very first updates, yeah, that one, according to a lot of people, that one does not got recognized. However, I did update it to the latest firmware now, so it does recognize that one. The RetroN 5 controller is not perfect to use for play on some games, so I'm actually not comfortable using the controller with games like Sonic and Mario, but I know that maybe other people might get used to it later on. You can't insert multiple cards at the same time like the Super Retro Trio does, so you have to insert one at a time, otherwise the system won't recognize it or won't actually going to let you play it. Control feels kind of laggy when playing on HDTV. There are some HDTV that can fix that, but the HDTV that I have doesn't, so this is a con to me. Price is a bit expensive. Fortunately, it's supposed to be $100, but I bought mine for $150, and that includes tax and shipping. Shipping is free, but the tax costs like $10 more, so add that to $140 and you got $150. The manual is less helpful, so I actually agree with that. It doesn't really tell you that you have to hold the powers to turn it on, and there probably might be a few things that the manual doesn't explain in detail, so that's another con. The console seems buggy at times, sometimes consistent to auto restarts, so that's one that happens with me with Killer Instinct and Street Fighter there. Sometimes it could restart at its own time, sometimes it could just like glitch out and freeze the game. Another con is difficult to eject the cart out, so that could apply to almost every other clone console that doesn't have an eject button, so yeah. But this one seems to this one seems the toughest to take out, because this is actually my third clone system, so yeah, I definitely not expect that, but it is difficult to take those cards out. Most accessories like the NES Zapper, Game Genie, NES Fourscore, and Super Game Boy does not work. Super Game Boy, Fourscore, and Game Genie I don't really care about, but the Zapper I really does. I actually got two clone system out that does not work with the NES Zapper. The Super Retro Trio can still use the Zapper to use bullets and stuff, but it only works on some games. The RetroN 5, however, does not recognize the NES Zapper at all, so all of my game doesn't work. All of the Zapper games I have does not work with it. And also, it does not support multiplayer link play for any of the Game Boy games. So if you want to play all your Game Boy games with a friend, or if you want to trade Pokemon on them, you will not be able to with this systems. So my final overall grade for this system is a C-. So that's a really decent grade there. I think that Hyperkin does try their best to make this the best clone system they ever have, but with a lot of these issues that still happens, I'm not really sure that it's the system to go get it. But I'm not saying you should buy or not buy the system. If you look at the back here, on the back of the page, I actually explained the grade. So S is superb, definitely recommend it. A is awesome, still recommend it. B is few issues, but still worth it. C is decent, has some issues, but still worth checking. And D is too problematic, probably wait until more updates are available. And F is it's broken, don't buy it. So this actually has a C, so it's actually decent, although it has some issues. I say it's still worth checking. So RetroN 5 right here, yep, it still has quite some issues in there, but some of them are very minor, and some of them could get annoying too, but that's not a good enough reason not to check it out. But it's up to you if you want to buy it or not though. As for me, I already got it, and there are quite a things that kind of annoy me about it, but it's still a really fine looking system. You can play all your games on it, and with the SD card you can actually if the system restarts on you, you can actually continue back to where you left off. But just try to be aware that there might be glitches sometime too. So to me, the RetroN 5 is still okay, but I don't think that it'll be worth buying it if you don't check it out first. So do some research on it. Maybe if you have a friend who actually got it, try to borrow it and play it for a while, see if you liked it. Then if you decided you wanted it, you could buy it. But to me, if I know that it has these many issues, I'd probably wait for it too. But getting this means a lot to me now, because I'm looking forward to more updates for the system. Maybe a system, some update that can fix those glitch and maybe the restart issues that I have found. So yeah, I hope this review helped you a lot. It's actually the system that I'm most looking forward to, because unlike the Super Retro Trio, I look forward to this more than the Super Retro Trio. However, testing this one out and testing the Super Retro Trio out, I actually recommend the Super Retro Trio more than this one, considering that it has a whole ton of problems that still occur with this. So yep, this is the RetroN 5. Definitely worth checking out. See if you liked it. If you liked it, might as well pick it up. If you don't like it, might as well wait for some more updates. I don't know if Hyperkin will update it anymore though, considering that they are in hot water with some of the emulators that are in here. So definitely hope that they might continue supporting this one. Otherwise, yeah, I might as well just keep this for collector's purpose if this system ever gets like end of supports or something. So thank you for watching my videos.